Admiral Vectar stood on the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, watching the stars through the massive viewport. His ship was 3 kilometers long, the largest vessel in the Thalric Imperial Navy. Around him, dozens of officers worked at their stations, monitoring the fleet of 200 warships that stretched across space like a steel curtain. The Viridian expanse belonged to the Empire. It had belonged to them for 600 years. Every star system, every planet, every asteroid field fell under Thalric control. That was how things worked. The Empire conquered, and the conquered obeyed. "Admiral, we're detecting something unusual," called out the sensor officer, a young Thalric named Helvor. His 3 eyes focused on his display screen, confusion clear on his scaled face. Vectar walked over, his heavy boots echoing on the metal floor. "What is it?" "I'm not sure, sir. There's a contact on the edge of our sensor range. It appeared for 3 seconds, then vanished. Now it's back, but in a different location. That's impossible with conventional drives." Commander Raylak, Vectar's second-in-command, leaned over the sensor display. She was a veteran of 30 campaigns, and Vectar trusted her judgment completely. "Could it be a sensor malfunction?" "No, ma'am. I've run diagnostics twice. The contact is real." Helvor adjusted his controls. "Sir, it just moved again. From Sector 7 to Sector 12 in less than 2 seconds. Nothing moves that fast." Vectar felt a cold sensation in his chest. In 600 years, the Empire had encountered 73 different species. They had cataloged every type of ship, every kind of engine, every possible weapon. Nothing in their databases matched this behavior. "Size estimate?" Vectar asked. "Small, sir. Comparable to one of our corvettes. Maybe smaller. A single small ship moving impossibly fast, appearing and disappearing like smoke." Vectar didn't like mysteries. Mysteries meant unknowns, and unknowns meant danger. "Hail them." Standard first contact protocols. Raylak moved to the communication station. She activated the broad-spectrum transmitter, sending greetings in 17 different languages. "Unidentified vessel, this is Commander Raylak of the Thalric Imperial Navy. You have entered Empire space. Identify yourself and state your intentions." Silence. The strange contact continued its impossible dance across their sensors, now appearing on one side of the fleet, now on the other. "Try again," Vectar ordered. Raylak repeated the hail. Still nothing. Then, without warning, every screen on the bridge flickered. A message appeared in perfect Thalric script, transmitted on every frequency at once. "Turn back. This system is under human protection." The bridge fell silent. Officers exchanged confused glances. Vectar read the message 3 times, unable to believe what he was seeing. "Humans?" Raylak said slowly. "Admiral, humans are primitives. They haven't even left their home star system. Our intelligence reports show they barely have colonies on their own moon." Vectar knew she was right. The Empire had surveyed the human homeworld decades ago. Earth, they called it. A pretty blue planet with one species that had just discovered nuclear fission. They were centuries away from interstellar travel. The Empire had classified them as non-threatening and moved on. "This must be a trick," Vectar said. "Someone is using the human name to confuse us." "Sir, the contact is moving again," Helvor reported. "It's heading directly toward our position." "Speed is?" "This can't be right. It's accelerating to 0.7 light speed." "Impossible. Even Thalric ships, the most advanced in the known galaxy, could only reach 0.5 light speed in normal space. And no living crew could survive the acceleration required to reach such speed so quickly. The inertial forces would turn any biological being into liquid. Raise shields, battle stations." Vectar's voice was calm, but his hearts were beating faster. "Deploy interceptor squadrons. I want that ship captured." Alarms blared throughout the massive dreadnought. Red lights flashed as the crew prepared for combat. 3 cruiser squadrons, 36 ships in total, broke formation and accelerated toward the mysterious contact. Vectar watched on the tactical display as his ships moved into an interception pattern. It was a standard maneuver, one they had used 1,000 times. The cruisers formed a sphere, slowly closing in on the target. Once they had it surrounded, they would use tractor beams to capture it. "Simple and effective. Contact has stopped moving," Helvor announced. "It's holding position at coordinates 772 by 441. "Good. They're surrendering." Vectar allowed himself a small smile. Whatever trick these pretenders were using, it was over now. "Commander Raylak, prepare a boarding team." I want to know who's piloting that ship and where they got their technology. The cruisers closed in. 5 kilometers. 2 kilometers. 1 kilometer. Then Helvor's voice rose in panic. Sir, the contact just vanished. Find it. I'm trying, sir, but... Wait, contact reacquired. Admiral, it's inside our formation. It's between the cruisers. Vectar stared at the tactical display. The mysterious ship had somehow teleported into the middle of his squadron. That was beyond impossible. Teleportation violated every law of physics the Empire understood. All ships acquired target and... The contact vanished again. Where did it go? Vectar demanded. Unknown, sir. It's completely disappeared from our sensors. Raylock stepped closer to Vectar, her voice low. Admiral, permission to speak freely? Granted. Whatever this is, it's not using technology we understand. That ship can appear and disappear at will. It can move faster than our vessels and ignore inertial physics. If it's hostile, we're vulnerable. Vectar wanted to disagree, but he couldn't. Everything Raylock said was true. For the first time in his 40-year career, he was facing something completely unknown. Sir, I'm detecting energy signatures, Helvor said. Multiple contacts. The Phantom ship it's everywhere. 15 different locations simultaneously. That's impossible. It has to be sensor ghosts. I don't think so, sir. Each signature is identical and solid. Vectar's mind raced. One ship couldn't be in 15 places at once, unless it was moving so fast that it appeared to be in multiple locations, but that would require speeds and maneuverability that simply couldn't exist. Admiral, we're receiving another transmission, Raylock said. The message appeared on the main screen. Same text, same perfect Thelric script, final warning. Turn your fleet around. Leave this system. You were warned. Vectar felt anger rising in his chest. The Empire did not retreat. The Empire did not take orders from mysterious phantoms. For 600 years, they had been the dominant power in this region of space. Their technology was superior. Their military was unmatched. Their will was unbreakable. No, Vectar said firmly. We will not turn back. Deploy the entire fleet. I want every sensor pointed at this sector. Use active scans, quantum sweeps, everything. Find that ship. Yes, sir, Raylock replied, though Vectar could hear doubt in her voice. As the fleet mobilized, Vectar stared at the empty space where the Phantom ship had last appeared. Something was very wrong. His instincts, honed over decades of combat, were screaming warnings, but he couldn't turn back. The Empire's reputation was at stake. If word spread that a single unknown ship had frightened away an entire Imperial fleet, the Empire would look weak. Contact, Helvor shouted. Dead ahead 1,000 kilometers. Vectar looked up. There, hanging in space directly in front of the Eternal Dominion, was the Phantom ship. It was small, sleek, and dark. Its hull seemed to shimmer, as if it wasn't quite solid. No light showed on its surface. No engines glowed. It simply floated there, impossibly still, impossibly close. For 3 long seconds, the two ships faced each other. Through the viewport, Vectar could just barely see another viewport on the Phantom ship. And through that viewport, he saw a face. It was humanoid. 2 eyes, 1 nose, 1 mouth. But the eyes were different. They weren't looking at him with fear or anger. They were studying him, analyzing him, measuring him like a scientist examining an interesting specimen. Then the ship vanished. Not slowly. Not gradually. One moment it was there, the next it was gone, as if it had never existed at all. Report, Vectar barked. It's gone, sir, no trace. Our shields never even detected its proximity. It was close enough to touch our hull, and we had no warning. Vectar stood frozen. That ship had been meters away from his bridge. If it had wanted to attack, it could have destroyed the Eternal Dominion before they could respond. They had been completely helpless. He thought about those eyes, that calm, calculating gaze. And for the first time in his career, Admiral Vectar felt something he had never experienced in battle. Fear. Captain Daewon watched the Thalric fleet through the observation screen. His hands rested calmly on the armrests of his command chair, but his mind was racing, calculating distances, velocities, and threat levels. The alien ships looked powerful, and their formation was perfect. These were not amateurs. These were warriors who had conquered most of this region of space. They're scanning again, said Jiwon from her sensor station. She was young, barely 25, but she could read sensor data better than anyone Daewon had ever met. Active quantum sweeps this time. They're trying hard to find us. Let them look, Daewon replied quietly. Hana, how's our phase shift holding? Hana sat at the pilot station, her hands moving across holographic controls that only she could see through her neural implants. Solid, Captain. They can't track us when we're shifted. We're basically existing half a second out of sync with normal spacetime. Daewon nodded. The TCS Wraith was humanity's first true stealth corvette, and its technology was unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. 50 years ago, humans had discovered ancient ruins on Mars. The ruins contained fragments of information about quantum mechanics and dimensional physics, concepts that other species had explored but never fully understood. Humanity, desperate to catch up with the rest of the galaxy, had poured everything into studying those ruins. While other species expanded slowly with conventional technology, humans stayed hidden and researched. The result was ships like the Wraith, vessels that could slip through space like ghosts, appearing and disappearing at will. Taemin, how's our power core? Daewon asked. From the engineering station, Taemin grunted. He was a large man with gray hair and rough hands, a veteran who had helped build the Wraith from scratch. Running at 60%, we can do maybe 3 more full quantum slips before we need to recharge. After that, we'll be stuck in normal space. Noted. Yuna, what's your assessment? First Officer Yuna stood beside Daewon's chair, her posture straight and professional. She was the opposite of Hana's casual attitude, always by the book, always careful. Captain, we've completed our reconnaissance. We have detailed scans of their fleet composition, weapon systems, and shield frequencies. Command wanted intelligence, and we have it. I recommend we return to base immediately. What about the colony? Daewon asked. Yuna's expression didn't change, but Daewon saw the tension in her jaw. Sir, Kepler 442b has 50,000 colonists. If the Thalric Empire discovers them, they'll either conquer or destroy the colony. But starting a conflict with this fleet won't help those people. We need to report back, let command make the decision. Daewon understood her logic. It was sound, reasonable, and safe. But something bothered him about the Thalric fleet's movements. They weren't just patrolling. They were searching for something specific. G1, have you analyzed their communication traffic? Yes, sir. They're talking about expansion plans. From what I can decrypt, they've detected signs of colonization in this sector. They don't know it's human yet, but they're investigating. And Captain? G1 paused, her young face troubled. They're planning a major operation. Within the next week, they're bringing in troop transports and occupation forces. The bridge fell silent. Everyone understood what that meant. The Empire had found evidence of the colony. They didn't know who built it, but they were coming to claim it. And when they arrived, 50,000 human civilians would be at their mercy. Captain, we have to warn the colony, Hana said, turning in her chair. Give them time to evacuate. Evacuation takes weeks, Yuna countered. We have only days, maybe less. And even if we warn them, where would they go? There are no other human colonies within range. Daewon closed his eyes, thinking. Command had given him clear orders. Observe, gather intelligence, and return. Do not engage. Do not reveal humanity's presence. But those orders were written before anyone knew about the Empire's planned invasion. Taemin, could we disable some of their ships? Non-lethal takedowns just enough to slow them down? The old engineer scratched his chin. Maybe. Our quantum torpedoes can phase through their shields and disable systems without causing major damage. But Captain, we're one ship. They have 200. Even if we're invisible, we can't fight those odds. I'm not talking about fighting, Daewon said. I'm talking about sending a message. What kind of message? Yuna asked, her voice sharp with concern. A demonstration. We show them that this sector is defended. We make them think twice before they bring troop transports into what might be a war zone. Sir, that could start an interstellar incident, or it could prevent one. If they think they're facing serious opposition, they might negotiate instead of invade. Yuna stepped closer, lowering her voice. Captain, with respect, this is beyond our mission parameters. We're supposed to observe, not engage in psychological warfare with an empire that has conquered 73 species. She was right, of course. But Daewon kept thinking about those 50,000 people on Kepler 442b. Families, children, scientists and farmers and teachers who had traveled across space to build a new life. They didn't deserve to wake up to invasion fleets in their sky. I'm calling command, Daewon said finally. G1, open a quantum encrypted channel to Earth Defense Command. Maximum priority. Yes, sir. The communication took several minutes to establish. Quantum entanglement allowed for instant communication across any distance, but the encryption protocols were complex. Finally, Admiral Sung-Ho's face appeared on the screen. He was an older man with stern features and sharp eyes. Captain Day 1. Your report? Sir, we've completed reconnaissance of the Thalric fleet. Detailed data is attached to this transmission. But we have a situation. Day 1 explained quickly about the Empire's expansion plans and the threat to Kepler 442b. Admiral Sung-Ho listened without interrupting. When Day 1 finished, the Admiral was quiet for a long moment. Captain, what are you proposing? A demonstration, sir. We show the Thalrics that this sector is defended, make them reconsider their invasion plans, buy time for the colony, and risk revealing humanity's capabilities? Sir, they'll discover the colony within days anyway. At least this way, we control the narrative. We show strength instead of appearing as victims. Another long pause. Day 1 could almost see the calculations happening behind the Admiral's eyes. Finally, Sung-Ho nodded slowly. Captain Day 1, I'm giving you operational freedom. Do what you think is right. Just remember, you're not just representing your ship. You're representing humanity's first impression on the galaxy. Make it count. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. The communication ended. Day 1 turned to his crew. Yuna looked worried. Hana was grinning. Taemin was already running calculations. Ji-Won waited for orders. All right, people. We're going to teach the Thalric Empire a lesson about underestimating unknown opponents. Hana, I want you to plan what you call a ghost dance. Multiple phase shifts. Rapid transitions make them see us everywhere at once. Now we're talking, Hana said, her fingers already flying across her controls. Ji-Won, identify the most important ships in their fleet. Command vessels, communication hubs, sensor platforms. Those are our targets. On it, Captain. Taemin, prepare quantum torpedoes. I want precision shots, disable only. No casualties if we can avoid it. Understood. Day 1 looked at Yuna. She met his eyes and he saw acceptance there, if not agreement. First Officer, I need you to monitor fleet responses. If they deploy weapons that could actually hit us, I need to know immediately. Yes, sir, Yuna said quietly. The Wraith moved silently through space, positioning itself for the demonstration. Day 1 watched the Thalric fleet on his screen, those massive ships so confident in their power. They had ruled this region for 600 years. They had never faced a serious challenge that was about to change. Captain, we're in position, Hana reported. Good. Hana, execute Ghost Dance protocol. Show them something they'll never forget. Hana's neural implants glowed faintly as she connected fully with the ship. The Wraith began to move, but not in any way that conventional physics would allow. It appeared in 3 places simultaneously, then 5, then 10. Each appearance lasted only seconds, but long enough for the Thalric sensors to detect. On the Thalric ships, alarms were undoubtedly screaming. Their sensors would be going crazy trying to track a target that couldn't exist. Ji-Won, find me their flagship again. I want to give Admiral Vector something to think about. Flagship located, Captain. The Eternal Dominion bearing 270. Take us in close. Very close. The Wraith slipped through space, invisible and unstoppable. It emerged from quantum slip directly beside the massive Thalric dreadnought, so close that Day 1 could see into the bridge through their viewport. There he was. Admiral Vector, the commander of this fleet. A tall alien with scaled skin and 3 eyes standing in shock as he realized a ship had appeared meters from his command center without any warning. Day 1 looked directly at the Admiral. Their eyes met across the void of space. He wanted Vector to see a human face, to understand that this was not some unknown horror. This was a person, a soldier, someone like himself. Then Hana activated the phase shift, and the Wraith vanished. Captain, the fleet is in chaos, Ji-Won reported, barely containing her excitement. They're scrambling fighters, redistributing ships, flooding all frequencies. The Imperial Council chamber on Thaldris Prime was enormous, designed to make visitors feel small and insignificant. Golden pillars rose 30 meters to a domed ceiling decorated with murals of past conquests. Around a circular table sat the 12 members of the High Command, the most powerful military leaders in the Thalric Empire. Admiral Vector stood in the center of the circle, feeling very much like a criminal on trial. Let me understand this correctly, Grand Marshal Kethron said, his voice dripping with contempt. A single unidentified vessel has paralyzed your entire fleet? 200 ships, including 4 dreadnoughts, are afraid of one small corvette? Grand Marshal, with respect, this is not about fear, Vectar replied, keeping his voice steady. This vessel uses technology we don't understand. It can appear and disappear at will. It can move at impossible speeds. It materialized inside our flagship's defense perimeter without triggering any alarms. Technology we don't understand, Kethron repeated mockingly. Admiral, the Thalric Empire has conquered 73 species. We have studied every form of propulsion, every type of weapon, every defensive system in this region of space. There is no technology that can do what you describe. And yet it did, Vectar said. I have sensor logs, video recordings, testimony from 200 captains. This ship exists, and it's unlike anything in our databases. Another council member, General Thelkus, leaned forward. You mentioned the ship claimed to be human. Our intelligence shows humans as primitive. They barely have fusion reactors. How could they build something like this? I don't know, Vectar admitted. But I looked into the pilot's eyes. I saw intelligence, calculation, and confidence. Whoever operates that ship knew exactly what they were doing. Kethron slammed his fist on the table. This is unacceptable. The Empire does not retreat from phantoms and shadows. Admiral Vectar, I am ordering you to return to the Viridian Expanse, capture or destroy this vessel, and proceed with the planned annexation of that sector. Grand Marshal, I recommend we proceed with caution. Perhaps we should. Are you questioning my orders, Admiral? Vectar felt the weight of those words. In the Empire, questioning the Grand Marshal was career suicide at best, treason at worst. No, Grand Marshal. I will carry out your orders. Good. And to ensure success, I'm assigning you additional forces. 4 more dreadnoughts, 20 cruisers, 50 destroyers. The largest fleet assembled in 10 years. I want overwhelming force. Show these humans what happens when they challenge the Empire. Vectar bowed and left the chamber. In the corridor outside, Commander Raylek waited for him. How bad? She asked. We're going back with enough firepower to level a planet. Maybe that's good. If we have superior numbers. Numbers didn't matter before, Vectar interrupted. That ship moved through our formation like we weren't even there. Adding more ships just gives it more targets. They walked in silence through the gleaming halls of the Imperial complex. Raylek finally spoke again. What did you see, Admiral? When you looked at that pilot? Vectar remembered those eyes, that calm gaze. I saw someone who wasn't afraid of us, and that worries me more than any weapon. In a research facility beneath the council chamber, Dr. Melroth studied the sensor data from Vectar's encounter. She was an old Thalric, her scales dulled with age, but her mind remained sharp. For 40 years she had studied alien technology for the Empire, and this data made no sense. The quantum signatures are impossible, she muttered to herself, manipulating holographic displays. They're using dimensional phase shifting. We theorized about this decades ago and concluded it was impossible. The power requirements alone would require a reactor the size of a moon. Her assistant, a young researcher named Paul Rex, looked over her shoulder. Maybe their ship is larger than our sensors indicated. No, the mass readings are consistent. It's a small vessel, but somehow it's generating enough power to fold spacetime around itself. That shouldn't be possible with any technology we know. Could they have found ancient technology? Ruins from a precursor civilization? Melroth considered that. The galaxy was old and ancient ruins existed on many worlds. Most contained nothing useful, but occasionally valuable technology was discovered. Possible. But even precursor technology follows physical laws. She gestured at the data. This seems to break those laws. What do we tell the Council? The truth. This technology is beyond our current understanding. If the humans have more ships like this, engaging them could be extremely dangerous. The Council won't want to hear that. The Council rarely wants to hear truth, Melroth said sadly. But I'll report it anyway. Meanwhile, aboard the Wraith, Captain Day 1 reviewed their situation with growing concern. Command orders us to return immediately, Una said, reading the message on her screen. They want us back for debriefing and to plan next steps. How long until the Empire reinforces that sector? Day 1 asked. G1 checked her analysis. Based on their communication traffic, I estimate 3 to 5 days. They're assembling a massive fleet at their primary base. Capital ships, support vessels, probably troop transports. This isn't a patrol force, Captain. This is an invasion fleet. Day 1 stood and walked to the viewport. In the distance, he could see the small blue dot that was Kepler 442b. 50,000 people lived there, farming and building and raising families, completely unaware that an empire was preparing to conquer them. "We can't fight a whole fleet," Taemin said from his station. "I'm good, but I'm not miracle worker good. One ship against that many, we'd last maybe 10 minutes. "Then we need to make those 10 minutes count," Daewon replied. "Captain, you can't be serious," Yuna protested. "Command ordered us to return." "And I will follow that order," Daewon said. "After we buy the colony sometime." "How?" Daewon turned back to his crew. "The Empire is sending a massive fleet because they think they're facing an unknown threat. What if we prove them right? What if we show them that attacking this sector will cost them more than it's worth?" "You want to attack capital ships?" Hana asked, her eyes lighting up with dangerous excitement. "I want to make them bleed, not kill them. Just hurt them enough that they reconsider. Make them think that whatever's protecting this sector has teeth." Yuna shook her head. "This is beyond our mission parameters. This is an act of war." "War was coming anyway," Daewon said quietly. "The Empire found evidence of the colony. They're coming no matter what we do. The question is whether we face them as victims or as equals." "We're not equals," Yuna argued. "They have hundreds of ships. We have one. They have numbers. We have surprise, superior technology, and knowledge they don't have. That's not nothing." The bridge was silent for a long moment. Finally, Taemin spoke up. "Captain, if we're doing this, we need to be smart. Hit-and-run tactics. Never stay in one place long enough for them to target us. Use their numbers against them." "Agreed. Hana, can you modify the ghost dance protocol? I want it to look like we have multiple ships instead of one. I can create sensor ghosts, make them think there are dozens of us," Hana said, already working on calculations. "It won't hold up under close inspection, but in the chaos of battle it might work." "G1, identify their weakest ships. Older models, anything with outdated sensors or shields." "On it, Captain." Daewon walked back to his command chair and sat down. He thought about Admiral Sung-Ho's words. "You're representing humanity's first impression on the galaxy. What kind of impression should humanity make? Passive victims who hid from threats? Or defenders who stood their ground?" "Yuna, I know you disagree with this," Daewon said softly. "And you're right to question it. But I need you with me. I need your tactical mind and your caution to balance my aggression." Yuna stood rigid for a moment, then slowly relaxed. "If we're doing this, we do it right. We disable ships, we don't destroy them. We show force but not cruelty. We make them respect us, not hate us." "Exactly. And the moment it looks like we're going to lose, we run. No heroic last stands." "Agreed." Yuna nodded slowly. "Then I'm with you, Captain. Though I'm probably going to regret this." 3 days later, the Thalric invasion fleet entered the Viridian expanse. Admiral Vectar stood on the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, now surrounded by the largest armada he had ever commanded. 4 dreadnoughts, 24 cruisers, 50 destroyers, and dozens of support ships. Enough firepower to conquer a solar system. "Sensor sweep complete," Helvor reported. "No sign of the Phantom vessel. Keep scanning. It's here somewhere." Commander Raylac studied the tactical display. "Admiral, perhaps it fled when it saw our numbers. One ship against this fleet would be suicide." "Maybe," Vectar said, but he didn't believe it. He remembered those eyes, that calculating gaze. The human captain wasn't running. He was waiting. "Grand Marshal Ketheron is demanding a status report," Raylac said. Vectar grimaced. Ketheron had insisted on remote oversight of the operation, maintaining a communication link from Thaldris Prime. "Tell him we're proceeding as planned. All ships advancing toward the colony site." The fleet moved forward in perfect formation, shields overlapping, sensors sweeping constantly. It was an impressive display of military precision, the result of 600 years of conquest and refinement. Then, on every ship in the fleet, a message appeared on every screen simultaneously. The first shots came from the Thalric cruisers, brilliant beams of energy that could cut through steel and stone. They converged on where the Wraith had been floating moments before. But the human ship was already gone. Multiple contacts. Helvor shouted on the bridge of the Eternal Dominion. "I'm reading 17 separate signatures across the fleet formation." Admiral Vectar gripped his command chair. "That's impossible. It's one ship. Sensors say otherwise, sir. They're appearing and disappearing faster than our targeting systems can lock on." Vectar watched the tactical display as phantom contacts blinked in and out of existence all around his fleet. His ships were firing constantly, but they were hitting empty space. The Wraith was creating the illusion of multiple vessels, making the Thalrics waste ammunition on ghosts. Sir, contact just appeared inside the formation again. All ships maintain formation. Do not break pattern. But even as Vectar gave the order, the real Wraith materialized beside one of the older destroyers. It stayed for only 3 seconds, just long enough to launch a single torpedo. The torpedo didn't look like much. It was small, barely visible, but unlike conventional weapons, it didn't hit the destroyer's shields. It passed through them like they weren't there at all, phasing through solid matter until it reached the ship's power core. Then it detonated, not a massive explosion. More like a controlled pulse. But every system on the destroyer went dark. Engines failed. Weapons went offline. Life support flickered and died. The crew would be fine, they had emergency systems, but the ship was effectively dead in the water. Report, Vectar demanded. The destroyer Iron Fang is disabled, sir. Total systems failure. No hull breach, no casualties, but the ship is completely offline. Commander Raylak turned to Vectar, her expression grave. Admiral, they're not trying to kill us. They're disabling our ships. Vectar understood the implication. A weapon that could phase through shields and disable vessels without destroying them required incredible precision and control. This wasn't a desperate attack. This was a demonstration of superiority. All ships modify shield frequencies, random modulation patterns. If their weapons phase through our shields, maybe we can disrupt the phasing mechanism. It was a good idea, the kind of tactical thinking that had made Vectar an admiral. But the Wraith had already adapted. Aboard the human corvette, G1 was analyzing the Thalric response in real time. Captain, they're changing their shield frequencies. Trying to block our torpedoes, can we adjust? Day 1 asked, already done. Our torpedoes recalibrate automatically. They'll still punch through. Hana was fully connected to the ship now, her neural implants glowing bright as she pushed the Wraith to its limits. The ship moved like a dancer, appearing in one location, launching a torpedo, vanishing before enemy weapons could target it, then reappearing somewhere else entirely. 3 more ships disabled. Taman reported from engineering. But Captain, we're burning through our power reserves fast. I've got maybe 20 more torpedo shots before we need to fall back and recharge. Make every shot count, Day 1 replied. On the tactical display, Yuna was tracking the battle. Captain, the Thalrics are trying to create a shield matrix. They're overlapping their defensive fields to eliminate gaps. If they succeed, we won't be able to slip through their formation anymore. Day 1 studied the pattern. It was smart. By linking shields together, they were creating a solid wall of energy instead of individual bubbles. The Wraith could still phase through shields, but it would have nowhere to hide between ships. How long until the matrix is complete? 2 minutes, maybe less. Then we need to break their formation before that happens. Hana, take us deep. I want to appear in the center of their flagship formation, right between the dreadnoughts. That's suicide, Captain, Yuna said sharply. If they hit us with a lucky shot while we're in there, then you better make sure our timing is perfect. G1 identified the command ships. Hana, we're going to quantum slip through all 4 of them in sequence. Disable their bridges. Take out their coordination. Now that's what I like to hear, Hana said with a wild grin. The Wraith vanished from its current position and reappeared in the heart of the Thalric fleet. They were suddenly surrounded by massive warships, vessels so large they could crush the Wraith just by moving. Energy weapons fired from all directions, turning space into a web of deadly light. But Hana was already moving. The Wraith slipped through the first dreadnought, phasing directly through its superstructure. As it passed through the ship's bridge, Taman launched a torpedo. The dreadnought's command center went dark. Then they were through and heading toward the second dreadnought. More weapons fire, more near misses. The Wraith phased again, passing through the second ship, disabling its bridge. Power at 40%, Taman warned. This is cutting it close. Keep going, Day 1 ordered calmly. Third dreadnought. The Wraith slipped through like a ghost through a wall. Another torpedo, another disabled command center. As they approached the fourth dreadnought, the Eternal Dominion itself, Vectar finally understood what was happening. They're not attacking randomly, he said aloud. They're targeting command and control. They're trying to blind us. He turned to his communications officer. Alert all ships. The Phantom is targeting bridges and sensor arrays. Reinforce those systems. But the warning came too late. The Wraith phased through the Eternal Dominion and everything on the bridge went dark. For a moment, there was complete silence. Emergency lights flickered on, casting red shadows across the command center. Admiral Vector stood in the dim light, knowing that his flagship had been rendered helpless by a ship he couldn't even see properly. "Backup systems coming online," Raylak reported, her voice steady despite the situation. "But main power is gone. We're running on emergency batteries." "How many ships have been disabled?" Vector asked quietly. 37, sir. All 4 dreadnoughts, 16 cruisers, 17 destroyers. No casualties, but a fifth of our fleet is dead in space." From across the bridge, Vector heard a familiar voice over the communication system. Grand Marshal Kethron, still monitoring from Thaldris Prime. "Admiral Vector, what is the status of your fleet?" Vector closed his eyes briefly, then opened them. "Grand Marshal, we are engaging a hostile vessel of unknown origin. The enemy is using technology that bypasses our defensive systems. Current casualties are minimal, but significant portions of the fleet have been disabled." "Disabled? By one ship?" "Yes, Grand Marshal." There was a long pause. Then Kethron's voice came back, harder now. "Use the planet crackers." Vector felt his blood run cold. "Sir, planet crackers are designed to break apart worlds. Using them in ship-to-ship combat, I don't care what they're designed for. That phantom vessel is making fools of us. Use every weapon at your disposal." "That's an order." The channel closed. Vector looked at Raylak, seeing his own horror reflected in her eyes. Planet cracker missiles were the Empire's ultimate weapon, massive thermonuclear devices capable of shattering moons and small planets. Using them in a fleet battle was insanity. If they hit anything other than the target, they could destroy dozens of their own ships. "Admiral?" Raylak asked quietly. "Prepare the planet crackers," Vector said, hating every word. "Target the Phantom's projected trajectory. Launch on my command." Inside the Wraith, G1's voice rose in alarm. "Captain, I'm detecting massive energy signatures from the Thalric ships. Oh no, those are planet-level weapons. They're preparing to use super-heavy ordnance." Daewon felt his heart sink. They had pushed too hard, humiliated the Empire too much. Now the Thalrics were willing to use weapons that could devastate entire worlds just to destroy one small ship. "Can we evade?" he asked. "Not easily," Hana replied, her usual confidence shaken. "Those missiles are big and slow, but they have massive blast radius. If one detonates anywhere near us, the shockwave alone could cripple us." "Power status?" 22%, Taimin reported. "We've got maybe 2 or 3 quantum slips left. After that, we're stuck." Daewon's mind raced through options. They could run, use their remaining power to escape, but the Empire would just regroup and attack the colony anyway. They could try to disable the ships launching the missiles, but there wasn't enough time. Then Taimin spoke up. "Captain, I have an idea. It's crazy, probably won't work and might kill us all. But it's an idea. I'm listening. You know how we can phase shift ourselves through space? What if we phase shifted something else? Something big? Like what?" "Like a Thalric dreadnought." Everyone on the bridge turned to stare at Taimin. "Explain," Daewon said. "Our phase shift drive creates a quantum bubble around our ship. But theoretically, we could expand that bubble to include another vessel. For just a few seconds, we could pull a Thalric ship partially out of normal space-time." "What would that do?" Yuna asked. "It would disable every system on that ship. Everything electronic would be fried by the dimensional displacement. But more importantly, while the ship is out of phase, those planet cracker missiles would fly right through it. They'd lose their target lock." "You said this is theoretical," Daewon said. "Never been tested. Could destroy both ships. Could destroy just us. Could work perfectly." "No way to know." Daewon looked at his crew. Hana looked excited. G1 looked terrified. Yuna looked resigned. Taimin just shrugged. The Wraith drifted silently through space, its system slowly coming back online. Captain Daewon sat in his chair, watching the Thalric fleet retreat in the distance. They had won, but the cost had been high. His ship was heavily damaged, and they had revealed capabilities that Earth's Defense Command had wanted to keep secret. "Captain, I'm detecting new contacts," G1 said, her voice weak but excited. 3 ships approaching from the outer system. They're ours! Human ships!" Daewon felt relief flood through him. "Identify them. TCS Endeavor, Defiance, and Horizon. It's the Rapid Response Fleet from Earth." On the view screen, 3 sleek vessels appeared, each similar in design to the Wraith but slightly larger. They moved with the same impossible grace, quantum drives allowing them to slip through space like water. A communication channel opened and a familiar face appeared. Captain Mi-sun of the Endeavor, her stern features showing both relief and concern. She had been Daewon's instructor at the Defense Academy years ago. "Captain Daewon, you look terrible," she said. Daewon managed a weak smile. "Good to see you too, Captain Mi-sun. We're sending repair teams over. Your power readings are critical." Mi-sun's expression became more serious. "Earth Defense Command sent us as soon as they received your combat data. They've made a decision. We're not hiding anymore." "What do you mean?" "Humanity is officially announcing its presence to the galaxy. You started this, Daewon. Now we're going to finish it properly." Aboard the drifting Eternal Dominion, Admiral Vectar was dealing with his own crisis. Emergency power had been restored, but main systems were still offline. Around him, his crew worked frantically to repair critical systems. "Commander Raylak, report on the fleet," he ordered. "Most ships have retreated to the outer system boundary. They're regrouping, but morale is very low. Admiral, they're afraid." Vectar understood. His fleet had been humiliated, disabled by weapons they couldn't fight and technology they couldn't understand. Some of the most experienced captains in the Empire had fled from a single enemy vessel. "What about the Phantom ship?" "Still here, sir. It's being assisted by 3 similar vessels. They appear to be conducting repairs. 3 more ships." Vectar felt his heart sink further. If one ship could do this much damage, what could 4 do? Or 40 or 400? "Sir, Grand Marshal Kethron is demanding a communication link," the communications officer said nervously. Vectar almost laughed. Of course he was. "Put him through." Kethron's face appeared on the screen, his expression furious. "Admiral Vectar, explain why your fleet is retreating." "Grand Marshal, we deployed planet cracker weapons as you ordered. The enemy used unknown technology to disable both their ship and our flagship simultaneously. My fleet interpreted this as a catastrophic attack and withdrew to defensive positions. Your fleet fled like cowards. My fleet recognized that we're facing an opponent with technology far beyond our own," Vectar said, his voice hard. "We need to reassess our approach." "There will be no reassessment. You will regroup and attack immediately." For the first time in his career, Vectar considered disobeying a direct order. He thought about his crew, about the thousands of lives under his command. He thought about the human captain's eyes, and the message he had sent: imagine facing thousands. "Grand Marshal, I recommend we establish diplomatic contact with the humans before escalating further." "Diplomatic contact? With primitives who embarrassed our fleet?" "These are not primitives," Vectar said quietly. "They have technology that violates our understanding of physics. They disabled 37 warships without causing a single casualty, which shows both capability and restraint. If they had wanted to destroy us, we would all be dead." "You are relieved of command, Admiral Vectar. I am appointing—" "Grand Marshal," a new voice interrupted. It was Dr. Melroth, the xenotechnology expert. She had apparently joined the communication channel without permission. "I must support the Admiral's assessment. I've analyzed the combat data. The human vessels are using quantum displacement technology at a level we cannot match. Engaging them in warfare would be catastrophic for the Empire." "This is a military matter," Kethron growled. "This is a survival matter," Melroth replied calmly. "Grand Marshal, the Empire has conquered many species, but we've always faced enemies we could understand. The humans are different. They remained hidden for decades, developing technology in secret. They only revealed themselves to protect their colonists. That shows strategic patience we should respect." The communication channel went silent for a long moment. Finally, another voice joined the conversation. It was Elder Torvan, the most senior member of the High Council. "Grand Marshal Kethron, I am ordering a ceasefire. Admiral Vectar will initiate diplomatic contact with the human vessels. We will assess the situation carefully before making further military decisions." Kethron looked like he wanted to argue, but even he couldn't override an Elder's direct command. "As you command, Elder Torvan." The channel closed. Vectar looked at Raylak, seeing his own surprise reflected in her expression. "Well," Raylak said quietly, "that could have gone worse." On the Endeavor, Captain Mi-sun stood on her bridge, addressing not just her crew but the entire human fleet through quantum communication. "This is Captain Mi-sun of the Terran Confederation ship Endeavor. In approximately 5 minutes, I will be broadcasting a message to this entire sector of space. This message will announce humanity's presence to all civilizations within range. This is the moment our species has been preparing for. Let's make it count." She turned to her communications officer. Prepare the first contact package. Full spectrum broadcast, all known languages. Ready, Captain. Mi-sun took a deep breath. For 50 years, humanity had hidden, researching and building in secret. Now that secret was ending. She just hoped they were ready for what came next. Begin transmission. Across the sector, on thousands of ships and stations and colonies belonging to dozens of different species, receivers picked up a new signal. It broadcast in multiple languages, but the message was the same. Attention all civilizations of the Viridian sector. This is Captain Mi-sun of the Terran Confederation ship Endeavor, representing the human species of Earth. We are a spacefaring civilization claiming the following systems as sovereign human territory. A star map appeared, showing 15 systems including Kepler 442b. We seek peaceful coexistence with all sentient species. We offer diplomatic relations, cultural exchange, and potential trade agreements. However, we will defend our people and our territory with every capability at our disposal. Recent events with the Thalric Empire demonstrate our defensive capabilities. We disabled 37 warships without causing casualties, showing both our strength and our desire to avoid unnecessary loss of life. The message included technical data, proof of human achievements, and an invitation for diplomatic contact. To the Thalric Empire specifically, we do not seek war with you. The conflict in the Viridian expanse was defensive in nature, protecting our colonists from invasion. We propose a diplomatic summit to establish borders and prevent future misunderstandings. We hope wisdom will prevail over pride. The transmission ended. Mi-sun sat back in her chair, knowing that in the next few hours, the galaxy's entire political landscape would shift. On Kepler 442b, 50,000 colonists watched the sky with a mixture of fear and wonder. They had learned about the battle only hours ago, and now they were watching ships appear in orbit. Human ships protecting them. In a small farming settlement, a mother held her daughter close as they watched the news broadcasts. The girl Yunji pointed at the screen showing the damaged Wraith. "That ship saved us?" she asked. "Yes, sweetie. That ship and its brave crew. I want to thank them. Maybe someday you can." 6 months passed. The Thalric Empire, after intense internal debate, agreed to a diplomatic summit. The first meeting took place on a neutral station in unclaimed space. Ambassador Kyung-soo represented humanity, a former diplomat who had spent years preparing for this moment. The negotiations were tense. The Empire wanted assurances that humanity wouldn't expand aggressively. Humanity wanted recognition of their territory and guarantees against future invasion attempts. There were arguments, there were threats, there were moments when it seemed like talks would collapse. But slowly, carefully, an agreement emerged. Borders were established. Trade routes were opened. Neither side trusted the other, but both sides recognized that cooperation was better than conflict. Other species began contacting Earth. Some were friendly, curious about the newcomers who had challenged the Empire and won. Others were cautious, worried about what other secrets humanity might be hiding. But all of them respected the human ships that patrolled the borders, those sleek vessels that could appear and disappear like ghosts. Captain Daewon stood on the bridge of the TCS Phantom, his new ship. It was larger than the Wraith, more advanced, designed with lessons learned from that first battle. His old crew was with him. Hana at the helm, Taemin in engineering, Ji-won at sensors, Yuna as his executive officer. Their mission was exploration and diplomatic escort, traveling to new systems and making contact with species humanity had never encountered. It was dangerous work, but necessary. Humanity needed allies, needed to understand the galaxy they had emerged into.